This is HOA anger. She brought a ruler and a grudge. I am standing in my driveway in Quebec City, Quebec, watching a fence contractor unload panels from his truck, when a woman in a gray windbreaker and a red sun hat steps into the street and blocks the truck with her clipboard raised like a stop sign. She is yelling before I even reach the curb. This is how you are going to start my Tuesday, Patricia. You are going to tell my contractor he cannot work because of a rule you just invented. She points the clipboard at the contractor and says, "You cannot unload those panels. This property is under review for setback violations and unpermitted construction. I am Vanessa Hayes, Rules Enforcement Chair for the Millstone Terrace Association, and I am ordering you to stop work immediately." The contractor looks at me. I walk over and say, "Vanessa, I have a city permit. I filed the application 2 months ago. You signed off on the HOA architectural review yourself." She shakes her head and flips a page on her clipboard. That approval was conditional. You failed to provide a survey, and your fence design violates Article 7, Section 4 of the covenants. You are in violation of setback, height, and material standards. If you proceed, you will be fined $500 per day until you remove the structure. I feel my jaw tighten. I work as a security systems installer, so I understand cameras, privacy laws, and when someone is inventing rules on the spot. I say, "Show me the section." She pulls the clipboard against her chest. You can be mad, or you can be compliant. Those are your options. The contractor says, "I have the permit from the city. If the HOA has an issue, they can take it up with the homeowner, but I am not stopping work because someone showed up with a clipboard." Vanessa turns and points at him. "If you unload one panel, I will have your truck towed for obstructing HOA common property. This curb is association jurisdiction." I say, "This is a public street, Vanessa. You do not own the curb." She smiles. "Your paperwork is cute. Mine has a letterhead. I will be filing a stop work notice with the city this afternoon, and I will be recommending an emergency lien hearing to recover costs for unauthorized construction. You have 48 hours to submit a compliant survey and a revised architectural application, or the board will proceed with collections language." That last part hits me hard. I am trying to refinance my mortgage, and any lien threat, even a bogus one, could wreck the deal. The bank already sent the appraisal request, and if the HOA files anything with the county, the underwriter will see it and pull the loan. I cannot let this turn into a credit problem. I take a breath and say, "Fine, I will get you the survey. But you are not stopping my contractor today." Vanessa steps closer and says, "Then you are accepting liability for every day of non-compliance. I will be documenting this conversation in my report. You were warned." She turns and walks back toward the sidewalk. The contractor looks at me and says, "Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to wait until this blows over?" I say, "Keep going. She cannot stop you without a court order, and she does not have one." He nods and starts unloading the panels. I watch Vanessa walk down the block, her crossbody bag stuffed with paper packets bouncing against her hip. She pulls out her phone and starts typing. I know exactly what she is doing. She is drafting a group email to the entire neighborhood, painting me as a rule breaker and a hazard. I pull out my phone and call my friend Marcus, who works as a city clerk in the planning department. He answers on the second ring. I say, "Marcus, I need a favor. Can you pull the public record on my fence permit and send me a copy with the approval stamp?" He says, "Yeah, give me 10 minutes. Why, is someone giving you trouble?" I say, "The HOA is claiming I do not have a permit, and they are threatening to file a lien." He laughs and says, "Classic HOA move. I will email it to you right now. If they try to file anything, send them the city copy and tell them to read the approval conditions. Most of these HOA challenges fall apart the second you show them a city stamp." I thank him and hang up. The contractor is already setting the first post hole, and I can hear the auger biting into the dirt. I walk over and check the line. The old fence was rotting, and I had it removed 2 weeks ago. The new fence is going to be 6 feet tall, cedar picket, stained dark brown, same style as half the other fences in Millstone Terrace. But Vanessa does not care about consistency. She cares about control. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzes. Marcus sent the permit file. I open it and see the city approval, dated 6 weeks ago, with a note that says, HOA architectural review completed and approved per covenant requirements. No survey required for replacement fence on existing line. I screenshot it and save it to a folder. I do not send it to Vanessa yet. I am going to wait and see what she files, because I want her on record with her claims before I prove her wrong. That night, I get an email from the Millstone Terrace Association group list. The subject line is, Unpermitted Construction Alert, Compliance Action in Progress. I open it and read Vanessa's message. She writes that a homeowner on my street is proceeding with unauthorized fence construction despite multiple warnings, and that the board is taking enforcement action to protect property values and neighborhood standards. She does not name me directly, but she includes my street address and a photo of my driveway with the contractor truck in the frame. I feel my blood pressure spike. This is not just a warning letter anymore. This is public shaming. Vanessa is trying to turn the neighborhood against me before I even have a chance to defend myself. I start typing a response, but I stop. I know how this game works. If I reply to the group email, Vanessa will twist my words and use them against me in her next report. Instead, I forward the email to Marcus and ask him if there is any way to escalate this to the city. He replies within minutes and says, if the HOA is interfering with permitted work, the city can issue a warning letter. But you need to document everything. Save every email, every notice, every interaction. If this goes to a hearing, you want a clean paper trail. I spend the next hour organizing my files. I have the original permit application, the city approval, the HOA architectural review form that Vanessa signed, and the contractor contract. I also have the email thread where I notified the board about the fence replacement 3 months ago. I create a timeline document and label every file with dates and recipients. This is evidence, and I am treating it like a compliance audit. The next morning, I wake up to another email. This one is from the Millstone Terrace Association Management Company, and it is addressed directly to me. The subject line is, Notice of Violation and Fine Assessment. I open it and read the body. The management company is informing me that I am in violation of Covenant Article 7, Section 4, and that I am being assessed a $500 daily fine starting today. The notice says I have 10 days to submit a compliant survey and remove the non-conforming fence, or the board will proceed with lien filing. I read it twice. Then I read it again. There is no mention of the city permit. There is no mention of the architectural review approval. It is as if Vanessa erased the entire approval process and started from scratch. I call Marcus again. I say, they just sent me a violation notice and a $500 daily fine. They are claiming I never got approval, but I have the signed form. He says, do you have proof that she signed it? I say, I have the email where she confirmed receipt and approval. I have the PDF with her name on the approval line. He says, then she is lying. You need to respond in writing, attach every document, and demand a hearing. Do not let them file a lien without a fight. If they do, you can dispute it with the county, but it is going to take months to clear, and it will show up on your credit report in the meantime. I thank him and hang up. I sit down at my kitchen table and draft a response. I address it to the management company and copy the entire board. I write, I am in receipt of your notice dated today. I dispute the violation claim in full. I have attached the city permit, the HOA architectural review approval signed by Vanessa Hayes, and the original application timeline. The fence construction is fully permitted and compliant with city code. I demand an immediate hearing and a reversal of the fine assessment. I also request that the board provide the specific covenant section referenced in the notice, as I have reviewed Article 7, Section 4, and it does not contain the language claimed in your notice. I attach every file and hit send. Then I walk outside to check on the contractor. The fence is going up fast, the posts are set, the panels are going in, and it looks clean. The contractor says we should be done by tomorrow afternoon. Are you still good with the timeline? I say, yeah, keep going. If anyone shows up and tries to stop you, call me immediately. He nods and goes back to work. I walk down to the mailbox cluster at the end of the block. When I get there, I see a small portable speaker sitting on top of the mailbox unit. It is playing a recorded announcement on a loop. The voice is Vanessa's. She is saying, "Attention Millstone Terrace residents. Unpermitted construction is a violation of our covenants and a threat to property values. If you see non-compliant work in progress, report it to the board immediately. Compliance protects everyone." I stand there and listen to it loop 3 times. Then I pull out my phone and record a video. I pan across the mailbox unit, capture the speaker, and record the audio. This is harassment, and I am documenting it. That afternoon, I get a call from a number I do not recognize. I answer, and a man says, "Hi, this is David from Summit Surveying. I got a request from the Millstone Terrace Association to perform an emergency boundary survey on your property. They said there is a dispute about the fence line." I say, "I did not request a survey. Did Vanessa Hayes call you?" He says, "Yeah, she said the board authorized it and that you would be covering the cost." I say, "I am not paying for a survey I did not request. If Vanessa wants a survey, she can pay for it herself." He pauses and says, "Okay, I will let her know. Just so you are aware, she told me the fence is already up and that it is encroaching on HOA common property. Is that accurate?" I say, "No. The fence is on my property line, same location as the old fence. I have a city permit and HOA approval." He says, "All right, I will note that. If you want to hire me independently, I can come out and confirm the line, and that way you will have documentation if this goes to a hearing." I think about it. The surveyor is delayed, and Vanessa is trying to rush a hearing before the line is confirmed. If I hire him now, I can lock in the proof before she manipulates the timeline. I say, "How fast can you get here?" He says, "I can be there tomorrow morning." I say, "Do it. I will pay you directly, and I want a certified report with the county parcel map overlay." He says, "You got it. I will email you the contract tonight." I hang up and feel a little bit of the pressure lift. I am getting ahead of her. I am building the case she does not want me to have. That night, I get another email from the management company. This one says, "Your response has been forwarded to the board for review. A hearing has been scheduled for next Tuesday at 7 p.m. in the community center. You are required to attend and present your case. Failure to attend will result in automatic fine escalation and lien filing." I read it and feel my chest tighten. The hearing is in 6 days. The surveyor will be here tomorrow, but I do not know how long it will take him to file the report. I need to move fast. The next morning, the surveyor shows up at 8 a.m. He is a middle-aged man with a tripod, a laser level, and a clipboard. He sets up at the corner of my lot and starts shooting measurements. I stand on the porch and watch. The couple next door, an older man and woman, come out and stand on their porch like they are watching a show. The man waves at me. I wave back. The surveyor works for about 20 minutes, then walks over to me. He says, "Your fence is right on the line. No encroachment. Whoever told you otherwise is either mistaken or lying. I say, can you put that in a report? He says, already writing it. I will have it to you by tomorrow afternoon. I am also going to flag the corners with stakes, so there is no question about the boundary. I thank him and watch him walk back to his truck. As he is loading his equipment, a gray windbreaker appears at the end of the driveway. Vanessa is walking toward us, fast, her crossbody bag bouncing against her hip. She says, "Excuse me, what are you doing on HOA property?" The surveyor looks at her and says, "I am performing a boundary survey for the homeowner. This is private property, not HOA property." She says, "You do not have board authorization. You need to stop immediately and submit your credentials to the management company." The surveyor laughs. He says, "Ma'am, I do not work for the HOA. I work for the homeowner. If you have questions about the boundary, you can hire your own surveyor." Vanessa steps closer to the tripod and says, "This survey is not valid. The board has already determined that this lot line is in dispute. You are interfering with an active enforcement case." The surveyor picks up his tripod and says, "If the board has a problem, they can file a complaint with the county. But I am done here, and my report is going to say exactly what I measured. Have a nice day." Vanessa watches him drive away, then turns to me and says, "You are making this worse for yourself. The board is going to see this stunt as obstruction, and we will be adding contempt charges to your file." I say, "Vanessa, the surveyor just confirmed that my fence is on my property. You have no case." She says, "We will see what the hearing determines. You can be mad, or you can be compliant." She turns and walks away. I watch her go and feel a knot in my stomach. She is not backing down. She is doubling down. That afternoon, I get a text from Marcus. He says, "Check the neighborhood group chat. Vanessa just posted something about you." I open the app and scroll through the messages. Vanessa posted a long message to the Millstone Terrace group chat, painting me as a trespasser and a hazard. She writes, "A homeowner on Oak Street has hired an unauthorized surveyor to manipulate property records and is proceeding with construction that violates setback and height restrictions. The board is taking action to protect our community standards. This behavior is unacceptable and will not be tolerated." I read it twice and feel my hands shake. This is slander. She is accusing me of fraud in a public forum with 300 members. I screenshot the message and save it. Then I reply directly in the chat. I write, "The fence is fully permitted by the city and approved by the HOA Architectural Review. I have documentation of every step, including the signed approval form from Vanessa Hayes. If anyone has questions, I am happy to share the records. This is not a violation. This is targeted harassment." I hit send and watch the chat explode. Within minutes, a dozen people reply. Some of them support me, some of them support Vanessa. One person says, "Why are we even talking about fences? This is HOA drama, not a neighborhood emergency." Another person says, "If Vanessa approved it, why is she now saying it is a violation? That does not make sense." I do not reply again. I let the conversation run. I want people to see the inconsistency. I want them to ask questions. The next day, the surveyor emails me the report. It is a 4-page PDF with diagrams, measurements, and a certification stamp. The conclusion says, "The fence structure located at the subject property is positioned on the legal property line as recorded with the county parcel map. No encroachment onto adjacent parcels or HOA common property was observed. The boundary corners have been marked with stakes for reference." I print 3 copies, one for me, one for the hearing, and one for Marcus in case I need a city witness. That evening, I walk down to the property line and check the stakes. They are bright orange, driven deep into the ground, with little flags on top. The surveyor did clean work. I take photos of each stake and save them to my evidence folder. The weekend passes quietly. The contractor finishes the fence on Saturday afternoon. It looks perfect. 6 feet tall, cedar picket, stained dark brown, straight line, clean cuts. The neighbors on both sides come over and say it looks great. One of them says, "I heard Vanessa has been giving you trouble. Do not let her bully you. She tried the same thing with us 2 years ago over a mailbox." I thank them and feel a little bit of relief. I am not the only one she has targeted. On Monday, I get another email from the management company. The subject line is lien filing notification. I open it and feel my stomach drop. The email says, "The Millstone Terrace Association Board has authorized the filing of a lien packet with the county recorder to recover costs associated with unauthorized construction and noncompliance. The lien amount is $3,500, covering fines, administrative fees, and legal costs. You have 72 hours to remit payment or request a payment plan. Failure to respond will result in lien recordation and collections proceedings." I read it again and feel rage flood my chest. They are trying to file a lien before the hearing. They are trying to force me into paying before I have a chance to present my evidence. I call Marcus. I say they are filing a lien. Can they do that before the hearing? He says, "Technically, yes, if the board votes to authorize it. But if you dispute it, the county will hold the filing until the dispute is resolved. You need to file a formal objection with the county recorder and send a copy to the management company. That will freeze the lien until you get a hearing." I say, "How do I file the objection?" He says, "I will email you the form. Fill it out, attach your evidence, and file it today." The county recorder is open until 5. If you file before the deadline, the lien will not go through. If you are enjoying this story and want to see how Karen gets destroyed by her own paperwork, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the payoff. I thank him and hang up. Then I sit down and fill out the county objection form. I attach the city permit, the surveyor report, the HOA architectural review approval, and the email thread. I write a cover letter that says, "I am formally objecting to the lien filing authorized by the Millstone Terrace Association Board. The lien is based on false claims of unauthorized construction and covenant violations. I have attached documentation proving that the fence construction is fully permitted, compliant, and approved. I request that the county hold the lien filing pending resolution of the dispute." I print it, drive to the county recorder office, and file it at 4:30 p.m. The clerk stamps my copy and says, "This will freeze the lien for 90 days. If the HOA wants to proceed, they will have to prove their case." I walk out of the office and feel a surge of adrenaline. I just blocked her move. She does not know it yet, but I am one step ahead. That night, I sit down and prepare for the hearing. I print copies of every document. I create a binder with tabs: city permit, HOA approval, surveyor report, email thread, group chat screenshots, lien objection. I rehearse my presentation. I know Vanessa is going to interrupt me. I know she is going to try to talk over me. I need to stay calm and stick to the facts. Tuesday night arrives. I walk into the community center at 6:50 p.m. The room is set up with a long table at the front and rows of folding chairs. 5 board members are sitting at the table. Vanessa is sitting at the far end, her crossbody bag on the table in front of her, a stack of paper packets next to it. She is wearing the same gray windbreaker and red sun hat. She does not look at me. I sit in the front row and wait. A few other residents trickle in and sit in the back. The couple from next door is here. They give me a thumbs up. The board president, a man in his 60s with glasses and a polo shirt, calls the meeting to order. He says, "We have one item on the agenda tonight. A compliance hearing regarding unauthorized fence construction at the property located on Oak Street. Vanessa Hayes, as Rules Enforcement Chair, will present the case." Vanessa stands and opens her crossbody bag. She pulls out a packet and hands copies to each board member. She says, "The homeowner proceeded with fence construction without proper approval, without a survey, and in violation of Article 7, Section 4 of the covenants. The fence exceeds the height limit, violates the setback requirement, and uses non-approved materials. The board authorized a $500 daily fine, and the homeowner has refused to comply. I am recommending that the board proceed with lien filing and immediate removal of the non-compliant structure." The board president looks at me and says, "Do you have a response?" I stand and open my binder. I say, "Yes. Everything Vanessa just said is false. I have documentation proving that the fence is fully permitted by the city, approved by the HOA architectural review, and compliant with the covenant. I am going to walk through each claim and show you why this case has no merit." I hand copies of the city permit to each board member. I say, "This is the city permit, approved 6 weeks ago. It explicitly states that HOA architectural review was completed and approved. The city does not issue permits without HOA sign-off." Vanessa signed the approval form herself. Vanessa interrupts and says, "That approval was conditional. The homeowner failed to provide a survey." I pull out the surveyor report and hand it to the board. I say, "Here is the survey, completed by a licensed surveyor last week. It confirms that the fence is on the legal property line. No encroachment. No violation." Vanessa says, "That survey was not authorized by the board. It is not valid." I say, "The survey was commissioned by me, the property owner. I do not need board authorization to hire a surveyor. The report is certified and filed with the county. It is a legal document." The board president looks at Vanessa and says, "Do we have a survey on file that contradicts this?" Vanessa hesitates. She says, "The board has not commissioned a survey yet, but we have photographic evidence that the fence violates the setback." I pull out the email thread and hand it to the board. I say, "Here is the email where Vanessa confirmed receipt and approval of my architectural application. The application included drawings, measurements, and materials. She approved it without requesting a survey. Now she is claiming I violated a rule she never enforced." One of the board members, a woman in her 50s, looks at Vanessa and says, "Vanessa, did you approve this application?" Vanessa says, "I approved it with the understanding that the homeowner would submit additional documentation. He did not follow through." I say, "That is not true. The approval was unconditional. I have the signed form. I can show it to you." I pull out the HOA architectural review approval form. Vanessa's signature is at the bottom. I hand it to the board president. He reads it and looks at Vanessa. He says, "This form does not mention any conditions. It says approved." Vanessa's face goes red. She says, "The homeowner is manipulating the record." This is exactly the kind of obstruction I warned the board about. I say, "I am not manipulating anything. I am showing you the truth." Vanessa approved my fence, and now she is trying to undo her own approval because she wants to assert control. This is not about compliance. This is about harassment. The board president holds up his hand and says, "Let's take a break. I want to review these documents before we continue." The board members huddle and flip through the packets. Vanessa is standing at the end of the table, her arms crossed, her face tight. I sit down and wait. After 5 minutes, the board president says, "We have reviewed the materials. It appears that the fence construction was permitted and approved. However, we still have concerns about the timeline and the lack of communication. I stand and say, I communicated every step. I filed the application 3 months ago. I notified the board by email. I waited for approval. I hired a contractor only after the city issued the permit. Vanessa is the one who changed the rules after the fact. One of the board members says, Vanessa, why did you sign the approval if you had concerns? Vanessa says, I signed it because I assumed the homeowner would follow the process. He did not. He rushed the construction and ignored the board's authority. I say, that is not true. The city permit took 6 weeks to process. I waited for every approval. Vanessa is lying because she does not want to admit she made a mistake. The board president says, we are going to table this hearing until we can review the covenant language and consult with the management company. In the meantime, we are suspending the fine and holding the lien filing. Vanessa says, that is unacceptable. The homeowner is in violation, and the board has a duty to enforce the covenants. The board president says, Vanessa, we need more information. This hearing is adjourned. Vanessa grabs her crossbody bag and storms out of the room. I watch her go and feel a rush of relief. I did not win yet, but I blocked her move. The lien is on hold. The fine is suspended. I have time to finish the case. After the meeting, the couple from next door walks over and says, that was intense. You did great. Vanessa looked like she was going to explode. I say, she is not done yet. She is going to try something else. The man says, if you need a witness, we will back you up. We have been dealing with her for years. She pulls this stuff all the time. I thank them and walk out to my car. I sit in the driver's seat and exhale. I am exhausted, but I am not finished. The next morning, I get an email from Marcus. He says, I heard the city inspector is going out to Millstone Terrace today to check on a complaint. Did you file one? I say, no. Did Vanessa? He says, probably. But here is the thing. If the inspector confirms that your fence is compliant, the HOA cannot keep pushing. The city has final authority on building code, and if the inspector signs off, the HOA has to back down. I say, can I meet the inspector there? He says, yeah, I will text you when he is on site. Be ready. An hour later, Marcus texts me. He says, inspector is heading your way. ETA 20 minutes. I grab my binder and drive home. When I pull up, I see a white city truck parked in front of my house. A man in a reflective vest is standing at the fence line, holding a clipboard and a tape measure. I walk over and say, hi, I am the homeowner. Did someone call in a complaint? He says, yeah, the HOA. They said the fence is over height and encroaching on common property. I am here to verify. I say, I have the permit and the surveyor report. Do you want to see them? He says, sure. I hand him the documents. He reads the permit, checks the surveyor report, and then walks along the fence line with his tape measure. He measures the height at 3 different points. Then he kneels down and checks the post alignment against the survey stakes. After 10 minutes, he stands up and says, fence is compliant. Height is 72 inches, which is within code. Posts are on the property line per the survey. No encroachment. Permit is valid. I do not see any violations. I say, can you put that in writing? He says, I will file a report with the city today. If the HOA wants to dispute it, they can appeal, but I am signing off on the work. I thank him and watch him drive away. Then I call Marcus and tell him what happened. He says, that is huge. The city inspector just confirmed what the HOA cannot enforce. Vanessa has no case now. I feel a surge of adrenaline. I am winning. I am actually winning. That afternoon, I get a call from the management company. The woman on the phone says, we received the inspector report. The board has decided to withdraw the violation notice and suspend the fine. However, the board reserves the right to pursue future action if additional issues arise. I say, "What does that mean?" She says, "It means the case is closed for now. You are not in violation. The board will not be filing a lien." I say, "And what about Vanessa? Is she going to keep harassing me?" The woman pauses and says, "I cannot comment on individual board members. But I can tell you that the board is reviewing its enforcement procedures." I thank her and hang up. Then I sit down and check my email. There is a new message from the board president. The subject line is, "Board Meeting Minutes." I open it and scroll to the section about my case. The minutes say, "The board reviewed the compliance case regarding the fence construction on Oak Street. After reviewing the city permit, surveyor report, and inspector confirmation, the board determined that the fence is compliant with city code and HOA covenants. The violation notice is rescinded. The fine is reversed. The board will be revising enforcement procedures to ensure accurate review before issuing future violations." I read it twice. The minutes record the reversal and the reason. Vanessa's case is dead. She lost. But I am not satisfied yet. I want to know if Vanessa is going to face consequences. I forward the minutes to Marcus and ask him if there is any way to confirm that the board actually reviewed its procedures. He replies and says, "You can request the meeting recording or the attorney correspondence if the board consulted one. It is public record." I file a public records request with the management company. I ask for all correspondence between the board and the HOA attorney regarding my case. 3 days later, I get an email with an attachment. It is a PDF of an email chain between the board president and the HOA attorney. I open it and start reading. The attorney sent an email to the board 2 weeks before the hearing. The subject line is, "Warning, stop enforcement action." The body of the email says, "I have reviewed the case file submitted by Vanessa Hayes. The homeowner has a valid city permit and HOA approval. Proceeding with fines and lien filing will expose the association to liability for wrongful enforcement and potential damages. I strongly recommend withdrawing the violation notice immediately." The board president replied, noted, "I will discuss with the board." But Vanessa replied to the thread and said, "The attorney is overreacting. The homeowner is in violation, and the board has a duty to enforce. I am moving forward with the hearing." The attorney replied, "Vanessa, I am advising you as legal counsel that this action is not defensible. If the homeowner files a lawsuit, the association will lose. Stop the enforcement now." Vanessa did not reply again. I sit back and stare at the screen. Vanessa ignored the attorney. She pushed forward with the hearing even after being warned to stop. She put the entire association at risk because she could not admit she was wrong. I print the email chain and add it to my binder. Then I email the board president and say, "I received the attorney correspondence as part of my public records request. I am aware that Vanessa Hayes was warned by legal counsel to stop the enforcement action and that she ignored the warning. I am requesting that the board take disciplinary action against Vanessa for violating her duty to the association and exposing the HOA to legal liability." The board president replies within an hour. He says, "The board is reviewing the matter. We will provide a response at the next board meeting." 2 weeks later, I attend the board meeting. Vanessa is not there. The board president reads a statement. He says, "The board has completed its review of the enforcement procedures related to the recent fence compliance case. The board has determined that the rules enforcement chair, Vanessa Hayes, acted without proper authorization and ignored legal advice from the association attorney. The board is removing Vanessa Hayes from her position as rules enforcement chair, effective immediately. The board is also revising the enforcement process to require attorney review before any violation notices are issued. I sit in the front row and feel a wave of relief wash over me. Vanessa is gone. She was forced to step down. The board publicly reversed her policy to avoid municipal trouble. I won. After the meeting, the couple from next door walks over and says, "We heard what happened. Vanessa got what she deserved." I say I did not stop her because I wanted her on record. I let her push the case as far as she could, and then I dropped the document that contradicted her. A city inspector confirming what the HOA cannot enforce was the payoff vector, and she could not fight it. The man laughs and says, "You played it perfectly. Vanessa is done. She will not be able to show her face at another meeting without everyone remembering this." I walk out of the community center and get into my car. I sit for a minute and think about everything that happened. Vanessa tried to manipulate minutes and agendas to erase objections after the meeting. She tried to intimidate my contractor. She tried to file a lien without evidence. She ignored her own attorney. And she lost every step of the way. I drive home and pull into my driveway. The fence looks perfect. Straight line, clean stain, solid posts. I walk over to the gate and run my hand along the latch. Then I pick up the latch and hold it up like proof. The next day, I get a certified mail envelope. I open it and see a letter from Vanessa. It is a formal retraction. She writes, "I am writing to formally retract my claim that your fence construction was unauthorized and in violation of HOA covenants. The board has confirmed that the fence is compliant with city code and HOA approval. I apologize for any inconvenience." Karen is forced to retract her claim in writing. I fold the letter and add it to my binder. I keep every document. I keep every email. I keep every receipt. Because the next time Vanessa tries to pull something like this, I will be ready. And the funny karma beat is this. Karen's favorite fee gets proven imaginary in the ledger, because the fine she loved to threaten never had any legal basis, and the board had to erase it from the books to avoid getting sued. I walk outside and check the mailbox cluster. The portable speaker is gone. Vanessa's recorded announcement is silent. The neighborhood is quiet again. I walk back to my house and sit on the porch. The couple next door waves from their porch. I wave back. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. And the fence is staying right where it is. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.